Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about separating out approximately 20% of the products on your product feed that you set up through Google Merchant Center, and then you import into Google Ads to run your shopping campaigns or your PMAX campaigns if you're running those instead of shopping campaigns, in order to get more ROI/ROAS out of your campaigns that you're running. The reason why, in short, that this does this is obviously pretty obvious. Certain items that you sell are going to have different levels of marketability and demand out there on the general market, as well as appeal in terms of the pricing, the look of the product itself. And so it makes sense that if you're going to market your products through a shopping ad on Google, i.e. the little picture ads with the price underneath it, i.e. shopping ads, that you would want to actually promote what sells the best, right? Well, there's certainly plus sides and negative sides to just promoting single or certain items that you sell, that which through your shopping and through your PMAX campaigns, that all of which might be sent and ultimately on Google Merchant Center through your product feeds. I'm going to go through what those pluses and negatives are, but primarily go through what are the benefits of actually singling out about the top 20% of the highest ROI items on your product feed, and how that should actually have an effect on your results of your PMAX/shopping campaigns in terms of the ROI and ROAS on them. So with that said, I will get into the content, how to actually set this up, why it works, and of course, the kind of results that we're getting for other clients where we've actually used this in the past at our PPC agency. So with that said, we'll get into it. First off, if you are having trouble getting your either shopping or PMAX campaigns to the level of ROI or ROAS, return on an account spend, that you want, you may just simply want to single out your best items, best performing items, best 20% of ROI producing or ROAS producing items, and just run them only in your shopping or PMAX campaign like I talked about, instead of just letting them all run and cycle, letting Google cycle through what they want to promote, what they don't want to promote. Now, question. Does Google promote certain items over others on your product feed? When you give them 100 items to promote through Google Merchant Center and through your product feeds, do they actually promote all 100 items equally, certain items more than others? The answer to that is yes, they actually promote certain items more so than others based upon what they feel, performs better or does better in certain circumstances. But it's very situational in that certain items will do better for certain keywords, and then those items will be promoted for those keywords, because Google's ad algorithm is all the time looking for who out of the 10 or so people that want those coveted Google shopping ad spots for keywords that are in your niche, they're cycling out the you and the other competitors in your niche that are advertising or wanting to advertise through Google Shopping to find out which ads are going to have A, the highest click-through rates, B, the highest conversion rates on your site, which indicate quality and something that will give Google's users a good experience so that later on they'll be more willing to click on ads in the future, which builds in long-term demand of their product. It's not just about money like some people think it is, because if they only went for people who had the most money, they would deteriorate the demand for their product long-term. So that's always your goal, not only with shopping ads, but the other search ads too. If you really want to know how to win at Google Ads and always make it work, having a competitive product or service that's as good as your competition, that click-through rate and the conversion rate matters everything, whether or not you're going to make money, a little money, or no money. Google wants to promote the people that give their users the best experience. They also charge them less. And you also obviously get more market share out of the best people that are available to get in your market that way. So, but in that, through the algorithm and them testing different things to figure out if they should be showing you or a competitor or one of your competitors in the shopping ads, given that there's 8 spots, but there's even more people trying to advertise, and then constantly, somebody comes in, they test their ads out, if they do better, they'll kick somebody else's ad out, and it's a constant battle to actually and have placement in the shopping ads, given that shopping ads are generally the most profitable thing you can do when you're trying to sell products through Google Ads advertising. They're testing not only who should be shown, i.e. which competitor or you should be shown, which product on your feed should be shown, or which product on their feed should be shown, i.e. your competitors' feeds. And then, that goes and is determined on an individual search by search basis, as well as people who search for certain keywords but are different genders, age, have different geographic locations. And so they ultimately have all your products to pick from if they're on any one Google search to have in the shopping ads, but they have all your competitors' products to look at and determine of which your competitors' products are shown. And they do that for each type of person who makes a search. So they ultimately try to figure out, for instance, if you sell baseball bats, females who are over 35, when they search for a baseball bat or type in baseball bat, they try to determine between your items on your product feed and all your competitors' product feeds, which item, or should I say items, because there's usually 8 shopping ads that show up on Google Shopping at any given time, which of the 8 of between your feed and the competitor's feed should show up for that type of person who's 35 plus, female, and searching for the keyword baseball bat. And so their algorithms constantly storing up data about every single search that's made in your space, and then constantly trying to figure out which is the best ad to show for the right time, right person. Okay, so with that, yes, your 100 items that potentially you have in your product feed, Google is trying to figure out, should they show yours, but within that, which items should they show? And then through all the data and the testing that they do, they'll figure out the right items for the right people at the right time, and the right demographics and right, psychographics of the individual searcher, like I talked about. But you get the general idea here. With that said, they want to show the best item, okay? And respectively, at any given time, for any given person or type of person in any given search, they kind of know which ads are going to do the best. But they can't, if they just relied on what they know, they would never get any long-term growth in optimizing user experience for their users, which also, if more people like what they see, they'll be willing to click on ads versus the organic free listings more, which makes Google money. So through them only wanting to show the stuff has historically, through trial and error, have gotten good user experience metrics and high click-through rate on the shopping ads in general, they got to also test stuff that they don't know works to be able to improve long-term and gather more data. So 80 or 90% of what they do is, based upon data that they already know and have and stuff that they know works. 10 or 20% is stuff they don't know works, but are using and throwing out there as a way to figure out if there's something about the 80, 90% they already know is wrong or could be improved on it even more. So with that, they may know 10 or 20% of the products on your product feed generate 80% of the sales, which that 80-20% rule actually does apply for the most part to shopping and your products in your product feed. But with that, they're going to test other items on your feed to try to see if they can beat the other competitors and your items that are already seeming to work the best with other items on your feed, particularly because Google doesn't just decide this on a search by search basis, but on an individual user demographic level and search basis combined. So they're going to be always split testing forever on, which items to show of yours. And, like I said, if they're going to show your items at all or somebody else's. And so they're going to test the items that already do well for you, as well as the items that don't do as well, ongoing, as they ultimately want to improve the likability of their product, i.e. search ads and shopping ads, and want you to also obviously spend more money long term, because if they could find a product that works better than another product that they already know works the best and gets just a little bit more click-through rate, Google makes more money long term for more people again, be willing to click on an ad maybe than an organic listing. So it's always a battle. How can we get people to click on our ads more so we could sell more inventory in terms of the eyes of Google? And how do we get what we're showing also to be something that ultimately delivered the user what they wanted so that they'll come back and be willing to click on more ads that way as well? So all the time, long story short here, Google's testing out everything you got on your product feed, and that process will not end, even though most of what you get on an ongoing basis is going to be the stuff that already works, but there's going to be stuff that's not, basically proven yet, or that they think, doesn't work, but they haven't tested every single situation of, every variant, because out of 100 items and there's thousands of different searchers that search in your niche, they can never quite figure out, and they won't have all the data to know what items work the best for what people all the time. So therefore, they're testing all this stuff all the time. You are then paying, anytime you're doing any split testing in marketing and advertising, you're paying money with the hopes that the test you have wins, the test group and your experiments win, so that you can long-term benefit from the improvement that test provided you. With obviously the downside being, if the test didn't win, the inefficiencies of running the thing that did not work that you were trying to test drag down the ROI of your account and budget overall. So tying those two things together, with Google constantly trying to get you more clicks and make them more money, you're going to actually have an ROI that's less because this testing is going all the time, if you will. So with that said, if you want more ROI from your campaigns, you simply need to cut out the testing. Simply put, you yourself won't ever know, which items are going to do the best until you've had millions and millions and millions of clicks, and even then, it's really not ever totally decided. But at any given time, just like what you could do with your other advertising stuff, you could just stop testing, and then if you were testing, different ads and stuff, and then you just stop testing, obviously your ROI overall is going to come up because there's no testing element, which in and itself, generally tests don't work, right? But when that one test does work, it makes up for the 10 tests that didn't, because you can use that for the next how many years when you're talking about Google ads. So you can just simply cut out the testing by taking your product feed, adding what are called custom labels to your product feed, or just excluding them from your campaign, and just running the ones that work the best. What I typically like to do is use custom labels. You add, taking a step backwards, you go under the product report inside your PMAX or shopping campaign, and you go back and you hit in terms of the time frame, click lifetime, and then adjust your columns so you can see sales and ROI, and then find out which is the top 20% of items that you've promoted in that shopping or PMAX campaign that's provided the highest ROI lifetime. And if you're using PMAX now, by the way, if you click overview, it'll give you a link back to your old smart shopping campaign if you were running one of those, and then you can use your old smart shopping campaign data, not just your PMAX data if you're using smart shopping that automatically got turned into PMAX. But you get my general point here. You use as much data as you can. Why as much data as you can? Because it takes a lot. You need, to be completely sufficient, probably 10,000 or more clicks on one item to really, really get a good grasp on that item being really, a good item overall. Because like I said, there's so many different searches, different people searching, that without 10,000 clicks, you could have data that skews one way very easily, just as on a fluke. So I try to use as much data as I can, unless there was a problem that happened or something, the tracking was broken. Make considerations based upon the time frame that I pull my data here from. But for the most part, use as much data as you can. And if you do have hundreds of thousands or millions of clicks, maybe you just use the last 6 months worth of data, as long as you can get at least 10,000 clicks per item, because the more recent data is going to give you a more better feel of how well your items perform in the current market, if you will. Current economic market, current competitive market, and so forth. So, but with that said, try to get if you a few thousand, if not 10,000 plus clicks on each item. Within that, what are the top 20 ROI producing items that had sufficient clicks? And then you're not looking at like 500 clicks, which is not statistically significant data, and you can't rely on that level of clicks to get an accurate idea of that item has a high ROI or not. You take those top 20% of items, and then we're just going to simply run it in another PMAX campaign if we were originally running PMAX, or in another shopping campaign if we were originally running shopping. And with that, there's two ways you can do that. One of which, you go into Google Merchant Center itself, and if you're running a manual product feed, you go in and add what they call a custom label. So it's just another column in your product feed, and you put a label on there that says top 20%. And then when you go to set up your new PMAX or shopping campaign, you simply filter it down to all items with that label on it, and then it's clean. And then you're done. It's relatively easy. The other thing you could do to do this is you could set up your new PMAX or shopping campaign and then go under the product listings and then exclude all items that are not in the 20%. And if you have thousands of items, that could take a while. And the custom label method for singling out certain items for a product feed, for a PMAX or shopping campaign certainly is easier. But that, in either case, you get the same result either way. That would be one way to single out the highest ROI producing products historically that have historically produced well for you, or the best for you, to a single relegated campaign that you can run by itself. And then in effect, like I said, because those individual items that are doing the best for you ROI-wise or ROAS-wise are singled out, Google's now not basically gonna know how to, it doesn't have the liberty to test all these other items that they're gonna try to get working one way or another through the split testing that their algorithm's gonna do naturally anyway. And then therefore your ROI right away is gonna go up. So, but how much will it go up? Okay, so we've done this quite a few times now. If you don't know, generally speaking, I've mentioned in other videos, if you have lots of different types of items, I try to break out my shopping/PMAX into certain different campaigns. So if you were selling baseball gear, I would have a product feed just for baseball bats, and shopping campaign or PMAX campaign for baseball bats, and then one just for baseball gloves, because the items are so fundamentally different that the algorithm's going to have a better time, easier time through their split testing I was just telling you about, find the proper items and ways to run the items in your campaign. If it just has one type of item to deal with, then all the items jumbled together, it will take longer for them to come to the end conclusions that they would have figured out that they would have needed to figure out. They would have found those conclusions quicker, if you will. So anyway, with that said, if you single out an individual campaign to run those top 20% of items that produce ROI for you historically, we would naturally get good results. And so if we try to take campaigns and we single out by category, if the client has a bunch of different types of items that they sell, just so we get better results for the same reasons that the top 20% and singling those out will get you better results. But even if the client sells similar items, or if we're breaking out campaigns by product type or category there, within the category itself, we can take the top 20% of those items and put that into its own separate campaign and generally get even more ROI out of what we got. If we're in a position where our ROI that we're getting simply isn't enough for us to be profitable, or ROAS isn't high enough to be profitable, breaking out the top 20% can be a godsend, because it can increase the ROI you're going to get from your campaign a good 40, 50, 60% or more sometimes in some situations. So the downside, though, going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, there's obviously always downsides, is you're not going to be able to get the long-term growth in your top-line sales revenue from PMAX or shopping campaigns, because the amount of testing that you did was blunted. You said, I don't want to do more testing. I want to do less testing to get my ROI up short term, but long term, you're not going to have the ability to get, presumably high ROI and high sales, or basically the same ROI and more sales. You're saying, I'm happy with the monthly sales we got right now, roughly speaking, but I want a higher ROI. That's the time when you can generally always single out the top 20% of items that produce the highest ROI, put it into its own campaign, and get about the same sales as you're getting now, maybe a little bit, certainly less, but with a much higher ROI of 40, 55, 50, 60% higher ROI than you had before, to bring that ROI up to a level that you're happy with, that you couldn't get before with the other campaign that included all your items, not just the top 20% ROI items. So to give you an example of where we did this before, I had a clothing brand where simply the client was not happy with the ROI that they were getting and we don't run regular shopping anymore. Neither should you, by the way. You should run PMAX campaigns because it's going to get you a better result. There's better machine learning baked into those campaigns that can get you more results than a regular shopping can get nowadays. And but with a caveat, you want to run feed-only PMAX campaigns, which if you haven't seen my video about that, check my previous video where I talk about this specifically because I spilled the beans on this. But if you run a feed-only campaign, which is a PMAX campaign that basically only runs on shopping and has machine learning bits to it that regular shopping doesn't have itself, respectively, we were running anyway the PMAX for the client. We still couldn't get the ROI that we want. So what did we do? We just took out the top 20% of items. We took a 4.0 ROAS or 400% return, and we walked it all the way up to a 650% ROI or 6.5 ROAS just by doing that one activity by itself, taking out the top 20% highest ROI producing items from that original PMAX campaign, put it into a new PMAX campaign, and got that level of return out of it right away, just to that one activity, which is a 62% increase in ROI. And that in itself happened within 90 days of setting it up. Respectively, new campaigns usually don't work as good as old campaigns because the old campaigns you have, even if the new campaigns you set up are better, will work better than the new campaigns because of all the history that the old campaigns have. And so much of what Google Ads is predicated on is history, that the ad algorithm understands how to run your campaigns. So you can have a great campaign that doesn't do very well starting out, and that's specifically why. But with PMAX, because it's so heavily based upon machine learning and using back history and back data, those PMAX campaigns certainly seem to learn much quicker, particularly if you've had a PMAX campaign running before. So it's able to take most of the data from a previous PMAX campaign that you were running to use for a new PMAX campaign. To the point where you could set up a new PMAX campaign that's identical to the old PMAX campaign you have, no changes, and the ROI of that new PMAX campaign will be almost the same within the first month of introducing it. In this particular case, it took about 30 to 90 days in there. It wasn't quite as quick as 2 weeks already we had it to go from that 4 to a 6.5 ROI or ROAS, but still very quick nevertheless, as comparing it to setting up, let's say, a new search campaign and hoping that search campaign does as good as the old search campaign, which can take 6 months to a year sometimes, based upon how old that original search campaign is. We've had it with search campaigns where I'll set up a fantastic campaign that I know works great for another client even. We launch that campaign, and in 6 months it's not doing nowhere near the original campaigns were with 10 years of history behind it. It will take a year and a half, 2 years to catch up to a campaign that was running for 10 years, but is a third of the campaign that the new campaign is in terms of how well it's structured and the strategy used in it. So with PMAX, it spools up fairly fast, which is why if you don't have a good ROI and you need, let's say you're this guy, you have a 400% ROI, that is basically breaking even for you after all your expenses. That's not going to cut it. You don't want to work for free a single day longer. Set up the new PMAX campaign, plug in your top 20% ROI producing campaigns historically. 90 days, you're already going to be in the black. That's going to be the quickest, easiest thing to do to get your PMAX campaigns profitable for you in that type of situation. Given with PMAX, obviously, there's also not that much you can change. That would be the big one, individual thing that you can change. Obviously, you could take, there's other things you can do with PMAX, such as impregnating your titles and descriptions with more keywords, and doing feed maintenance, and obviously, with that, I've talked about going to a feed only if you haven't done that. There's other smaller stuff, but there's not that many levers you can pull with PMAX. This is going to be basically the quickest thing you can do that's going to give you sizable gains, and done so within that 30, 60, 90 day time frame that you would potentially need in some situations where you need results quickly. So that's for a clothing brand. I did also bring this up. We do this all the time. I wanted to do this for another type of company just so you can say, well, that's just the clothing company. I'm a paint company, and my industry is different. The reality is everybody says their industry is different, and I could give some people at our firm that come to us 15 examples of why this strategy I'm just talking to you about works, and they'll say, oh, our company's different. And the reality is, okay, sure, every industry is different, not disputing that, but you got to be able to roll with the punches as it comes to online ads. If you're going to be successful at this, you got to be willing to study the stuff that we give to you on this. I mean, frankly, I give to you all the strategies that work, that we test and that work. You got to be willing to test this stuff out and just prove to yourself. Don't be so negative as to just automatically say my industry is different. Just test it. Ultimately, you don't have to take big risks. You could set up a new PMAX campaign. If your original PMAX campaign has $100 a day budget, set up the new PMAX campaign with a $10 a day budget, and literally for about $500, you can see if you can run a campaign that will go on to make $1 million in profit for you over the next 5 years. That's the kind of decisions you got to make in your business anyway to grow it. So why not be with something that's so basically easy to set up? Anyway, with that said, we did this for a paint company as well. And with the paint seller, in this situation, it was a little bit different. So we didn't just have a campaign that wasn't, making money at the start, and wanted it to make money quickly, more ROI quickly. Did not want to, dick around waiting too long. For this paint seller, it was a very seasonal business, which obviously a lot of markets are. And during the off season, the ROI on their campaigns, just as a whole in the account, would be about half of what it is on the on season. Okay, for paint seller selling like exterior paints for homes and some other types of paint products, and therefore why it was such, so much of a high seasonal business. That said, during the off season, they'd get about a 2.5 ROAS, or 2.5 or 250% ROI on their campaigns. So during the main season, they were profitable enough. We didn't have to take all of our PMAX campaigns, running all of our items, and do anything to them. But we made the decision to set up a new PMAX campaign that would run off season, that would only run the top 20% of items on it. And that right there easily took us from a 2.5 ROAS to a 3.7 ROAS, or 250% ROI to a 370% ROI, just from that one activity, taking some of the items that normally just work the best. And of course, a part of that gain I will attribute to, on the off season, certain items work better in the off season. That also helps us too, which, by the way, is the other reason why you want to usually try to experiment at some point with having, instead of just one PMAX campaign, breaking it out by item type, because certain items during certain times of the year are going to do better, and Google's algorithm is going to be able to handle what you got better that way and run it better that way, as well as you can control your daily budget on these campaigns to where you can learn when certain campaigns are doing better at certain times of the year, you run those more aggressively, and vice versa. But anyway, in this particular case, it wasn't so much about just singling out items that were normally going to work better in the off season. It was singling out items that normally just work better in general, and cut out, like I was talking about before with the testing, eliminate all the testing in the off season so we don't dip too far in the ROI department and just run the stuff that it works during the off season. And then during the on season, that's the time where we can squeeze in a little bit more testing. But in general, the testing we do, if you will, is going to just work that much better and it's profitable. So let's just do all the testing essentially when the iron is hot, if you will. But in that was actually, if you do the math there, that's a 48% increase in ROI. So it's not quite what we had with the clothing brand, but still good nevertheless. And this gives you a general idea of the general trend of where this can actually take you. Singling out the top 20% of most profitable items on your product feeds, and then just putting them into a campaign all by itself. So that is pretty much what I would mention to you. The same logic could certainly apply if you're running search campaigns. And obviously in a search campaign context, you have to generally decide, or you should decide, or should face yourself with this decision. That is, are you going to send people to a product page on your site? Are you going to send people to a category page on your site? Or are you going to send people to a search results page where you go into your search bar and type in, let's say the type of keyword that you're bidding on, and then the search results page, you copy the URL, and that's the page you could potentially send people to. Because on a search results page, a lot of times it'll say the keyword that was searched for at the top of the page, and then there'll be a custom items that are just matching that search, and you can use that to target people that are looking for that, typing that exact keyword in for a better conversion rate. Anyway, in that situation, if you're sending people to a single item, you certainly should be looking at what items normally convert the best, and then trying to send people to the individual item that works the best. So it's the same kind of situation there. And for my company, I would be looking at, if I am promoting a single item, I'm sending people to, first of all, looking at the data and seeing what items normally have the highest ROI. But then of the top 20% highest ROI items, if I can't decide between them which one to promote for an individual keyword, I'm going to split test it and find the one that works the best on a keyword by keyword basis. Since by keyword it matters a lot. You can't just say, oh, this product will work great for everything, and that's all my search ads are going to go to this one item, because you're going to leave a lot of profit on the table doing that. It's just like what I was telling you about before with Google. Google recognizes certain items are good for certain types of people with certain types of searches. You need to do the same thing for search campaigns to have them work great as well. But you get the general idea there. So I went over a lot of lessons here in this particular video. Regular shopping doesn't work as good as PMAX if you're running feed-only campaigns. Feed-only, which is just targeting a product feed but with no ad assets, no headlines, no images, which in the documentation doesn't say you can do, but there's a way to do it. If you watch my video, I explain how, the previous video to this exact video here. But that's what you want to run. And then, of course, breaking up your PMAX campaigns into several sub-campaigns that target different types of items is good, but within that, or even beyond that, breaking out the top 20% of ROI items within each one of those individual sub PMAX campaigns that target individual item types can be your ticket to get an individual category that doesn't produce an ROI that you need it to get an instantly 50% higher ROI, because you're just singling out the items that work the best. If you're in a bind and you can't run at a negative ROI anymore, or just wait 6 or 12 months for the algorithm to finally figure out of all the items that you have in that individual category, which ones are going to work the best, and more so focus on them versus the heavy testing of all the items in your in that category for a while, and not basically make any assumptions too quickly on their end. So anyway, with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hope you enjoyed this video. I have another video coming out very shortly with another great strategy on it. This channel is chock full of information that we run a PPC agency here. All the stuff that we can basically use to figure out how to get better results for our clients, the stuff that works, we give it to you on this channel on a silver platter. If you want to learn how to make more money with PPC, this is the channel for you. It's the best information you're going to be able to find on YouTube on actual actionable advice on how to make more money with PPC, Google ads, Facebook ads, and Amazon ads, and the like. So I highly encourage you to be subscribed so you can learn how to make millions of dollars with your ads, which is certainly in your capability to do if you just have the right information. Beyond that, if you like the video, consider, I'd appreciate it if you would consider giving it a like, and so we can get it out there for other people like you that would be helped by this information. If you want some more detailed advice on how to set up PMAX campaigns and that kind of thing, you can reach out and find our blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog, where I have personally written some information there that goes through the type of campaigns we set up for our clients to guarantee their results, literally speaking, because that's the type of agency that we have. We offer guarantee results to our clients, pay later, service now type contracts. So, but I go through exactly what we're using there for the most part, and it goes into detail how to set up campaigns that work basically every time you use them, and is more in detail than what we have on this channel, where we go over the high-level concepts. The details are explained more so on my company's blog on Guarantee PPC. Beyond that, if you have any questions, by the way, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. And a final thing I want to mention is we do have a brand new program that we came out with at our PPC firm, where we offer turnkey PPC campaigns. In that, we've had results in hundreds of different markets now, having been a PPC agency for over 8 years now, and having worked in PPC and worked with other agencies many years before that, of which, if you're looking to start a new business or just want to be able to make money now, you can literally start a business up in another market that you may not be in, but use the exact campaigns we're using to make millions of dollars for a client in one market that could be used in your geographic market all the same, and get, have a massively profitable business basically right away, taking the exact campaigns and landing pages that we produced and honed and came up with over years working in that industry, in which we already know the results on ahead of time in that market, in your local geographic market. We've actually literally had several clients come to us and said, basically they were working in one market. I said, why don't you just do this? You could easily make, $3 million a year running this campaign in your market. It's better than the market you have. They've done it, and it's exactly, basically what happened. It's easy for us to say that because we already know the exact results our campaign with the settings that we have on that campaign will do in another market. So for us to say, use this campaign in your market, and you'll make millions of dollars a year, it's no problem. And of that, the campaign's efficient enough where that person or you could outsource all the service work to another firm in the area, take 5% off the top for yourself, and have almost a passive income business. We may also have a campaign that we've ran in your exact market where you don't have to do all this crap of figuring out how to do things the right way in your market. You can just simply use the exact model that we have going for another client who's not competing with you directly. We also have product campaigns that are used in one country that can be used in another country, and you guys will not cross paths, of which you can run a very successful campaign, such as selling printer toner, which we have a campaign in that space that we know gets results. And we have campaigns in electrical services and foundation repair, all this stuff where we could tell you the results you're going to get before you even start. So if you're interested in that type of thing, maybe even just to see if we have results in your market already, which you could copy paste those results in your market, in which here we say here's the campaigns, here's the landing pages, use them like this, you'll get the results, and you manage them yourself. That's what we're trying to do here for our clients that don't want a full-on PPC management at our firm like most of our clients do. So anyway, that said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next video where we have another great strategy for you to make some more money with your PPC. See you there.